It is RuPaul Drag Race. I'm exhausted. I built this bookcase right here. I've been carrying books up to fill it up, so it will eventually be full. So, from Farm to Runway, Season 11, Episode 7. So, I feel like this is a repeat of everything I've said so far, which is we're seeing people rise, we're seeing people fall. There's a few in the middle that we've got an eye on, which is up top, for me, Nina, I think she's not landing for the judges. I personally like her. I've always been a fan of kind of the campy comedy queens. Campy is just, you can embrace it. You're a lot of fun. You have a lot of fun with things. But as it often happens with like Pandora Box and a little bit Manila Luzon, although I want to say that she doesn't have glamour, because she does, but she does have camp, I think, in the best possible way. But anyway, a lot of times it doesn't land with the judges. So I have Nina on top. I think Brooklyn and Evie are clearly on top. The numbers reflect that. And then we have a whole bunch of people kind of in the middle, like Suga and Vanjie and Plastique, and Acaria. Acaria a little bit, where they're not quite catching on, but at any moment they could be set ablaze. So they're just figuring it out. Those are always the queens that, if you've gotten this far, episode 7, there's a really good chance you're going to make it onto an All-Stars. You're going to be able to do something really big post-career. Now, obviously, any of them can, but I think, like we saw Plastique, and when we get into the episode, we saw Plastique kind of opening up, showing more personality, trying to be less perfect, and I think that's going to benefit her. Raja needs to simmer down. For someone who won the lip sync, she's awful stanky about Scarlett. Scarlett had to say someone on the stage, and Raja was also in the bottom, so clearly it's like if you're on the bottom, and you look up one, whoever is just one spot ahead of you is really who you have to say. Like, oh, well, she should have said herself. No, like that whole, like, I'll say myself thing doesn't work on Project Runway. Ru does not want to hear it. That's just, no. So I think it's just one of those things where, unless you really want to go home, you don't say yourself. You say someone else on the team. That's just how it works. Other shows are different, but there you go. So I thought she needed to simmer down. Scarlett did pretty good in the lip sync. A lot of people are upset, saying that she should have stayed. Yeah, I mean, if it had been my choice, he would have stayed. I also kind of felt like if you're in the bottom 3 times in a row, or it wasn't 3 times in a row. It was, I have my little Wikipedia page. Wasn't in a row, but it was pretty close. Raja had been in the bottom for the bottom 6, episode 3, bottom 2, episode 4, safe, and then bottom 6. I kind of feel like if half of the episodes you're in the bottom and the other 3 are safe, like, I'm not saying you're bad, but now is not your time. You are not going to win this game. It's time to let you go home, regroup, come back. I would just gladly watch seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race over and over again with girls who went home before the finale, or who just didn't win. Like, just show me Katya every single episode. Manila, okay, so anyway, Plastique is a little snappy. My first thought was, you decide to get a personality and this is the one you pick. That was my thought. Rest of the episode pans out differently. We'll get there. Silky needs to back off. I kind of feel like, and I was like, stay away from my Nina. There's a lot of finger pointing. I think everyone, Evie, Silky, everyone would benefit a little bit from being like, just kind of being like, well, whatever you're doing is your thing. And a little bit less playing practice judges. That's just my opinion. So they have a potato sack race for boobies. Evie's hurt. If this had been a different kind of injury, they might have sent her home. But knowing that she has a progressive disease, the idea that they could send her home, she could even be in worse shape next year. So I get why that's not even really being discussed, as opposed to Eureka when she blew out her knee. Of course, Eureka was on crutches, so it was a little bit different. But I also, what would be interesting to see an adaptive drag queen. So in adaptive sports, that's where someone takes whatever limitations they have, they adapt around them, and they compete in the sport using equipment to get around any sort of limitation they have. They focus on the areas that they can do. I want to see that in a drag queen in a wheelchair. You know, she's definitely got enough personality to carry it off. So I think this is, I think it'd be a great opportunity for them to kind of bring that to the forefront and be like, here's the deal, you're not going to get better. You know, now if she doesn't, I'm not saying she just gets to pass the finale. I'm just saying, don't just automatically send her home, which is what they're doing. They're kind of adapting the challenges, giving her sort of a level bar, even if it's a little different bar. Anyway, so they're going to be making outfits. I'm kind of excited. I want to see more diversity. When we have a RuPaul tete-a-tete, you know, a little go around and talk, and everyone's kind of got their... And I figured out why I have such a hard time in my mind. Icaria I haven't really focused on. It's because interview look and around the workroom has such a different look. Like her hair is red in the workroom, and I thought it was blue. I thought it was tinted blue. I think it's just might be black or something. Excuse me, the talking head. And so I was like, who is that person? Anyway, Nina West is going to use corn. And everyone went for the corn. I don't remember eating corn. And of course, me being a Project Runway baby, I was like, Season 1 Unconventional Challenge. You know, Austin Scarlett, you know, which made the dress out of corn. I think it was the very first, if I remember correctly, it was the Ghirardelli's challenge. It was the very first episode of the very first season of Project Runway when it was on Bravo before it moved to Lifetime and then back to Bravo. But that was like 15 years ago, 16, 14, I don't know. It was a long time ago. 19 years? I don't know. It's been a long time. We can look it up. So I was like, make sure to put it in the refrigerator so it doesn't shrivel up like Austin's. No one mentioned it. I was like, where is my references? So anyway, and I loved it because Nina had leftover eyeliner from the morning, and so it reminded me of like a lead singer of an early 2000s emo band, and I was like, I can dig this. Like, this is great. Like, get him those little wrist things and the black and white or red and black pattern, and slick his hair up and make it all black. Yeah. Anyway, RuPaul asked Brooklyn for more personality, which kind of surprised me because I thought Brooklyn had a lot of personality. I had been seeing it on the runway. Apparently RuPaul had not. Better judge than me. Plastique had a big breakthrough. We saw the reflection in the challenge, a lot more personality in the dance number, the very short dance number, and a lot more personality in the runway. I would like to see Plastique take off and see her really shine, because there's a lot of potential there. Might not do it. I mean, there's a lot of people I'd like to see. Sugar has so little experience that I think it's probably about where her ability is. But Plastique and Vanjie, and I guess Brooklyn needs more personality. But Vanjie has a lot of personality. She's got some execution issues. So Evie said that Silky should go. Silky said Evie should go home. Evie said Silky should go home. I think they both would benefit from just a little. Now, I'm not saying that they can't talk at all. I'm just saying I think it's a little bit of a distraction to both of them. I'm not super impressed with Silky. I don't think she's bad. I just think everything she does is bodycon, so she's body conscious. So it's like a tube skirt or a tube dress. I just haven't seen a lot of different silhouettes. And I find her less entertaining to watch in the workroom versus someone like Vanjie, who is having a similar problem with similar silhouettes. Even when she was like, oh, I'm going to give you a different silhouette. Kind of. So they do an adorable little line dance. They have Evie playing the fiddle. I found Evie enthralling. I could barely stop watching her. But I do want to acknowledge that she's a little different challenge than everybody else. So is that an equal playing field? I don't know. I'll leave it to someone else to decide. I think she did a great job. I mean, a lot of their acting challenges have different roles. I mean, you know what I mean? So It's never really a playing field. I thought Evie looked like Candy in her runway. She had Candy's hair, and I'm surprised no one pointed that out. Candy was one of the judges from Real Housewives of New York. Nina was walking funny. So my son does this thing where he likes to walk and he likes to go like this. Like he's a little marionette. And I kind of felt like Evie was walking oddly. And I couldn't figure out if it was like a thing. I don't know. Was I the only one who noticed that? Vanjie, I was like, oh, it looks like her other stuff. Like, yeah, the skirt had a little bit, and I know it was kind of an unconventional materials challenge, so that's really hard to do something crazy different, especially if, like, big volume, because you're like, you know. Brooklyn's look like real clothing. I was super impressed with that. Acaria, I just put, okay, that's fine. Raja's pants were folding funny, kind of across the. Now I couldn't make pants. I would definitely be making a skirt. So so that was interesting, but they didn't work super well. But it was really difficult. So yeah, so there we go. We got our top, bottom. We got our top and our bottom. Raja, Acaria, and Nina. I was like, not my Nina. Although, she hasn't really. Nina has been low, it's had 3 lows and a win and 3 safes. So Nina is definitely on that, you better step it up. I mean, a lot of people are though. Plastique has only had 1 win. Sugar has had no wins but 2 in the high. Silky had a win. Vanjie has not had a win. So Sugar and Vanjie are really in danger. They have not had a win. And Evie, Silky, Plastique, and Acaria have all had 1 win, and Brooklyn's had 2. So pretty. We get into a few kind of get into the front, but not so much so that you're like, oh, they definitely get a pass. Like Brooklyn, they want more personality, and then everybody else has had critiques. I mean, so there you go. So Acaria and Raja. Go ahead. I was like, if they keep Raja again, I just don't understand what the competition's about. Not because Raja was so bad, it's just that's 4 times in the bottom, 2 times in a row, and I thought Acaria was better, and Acaria wins. So she gets to stay in. Our top was Evie. Once again, we got to see her do quirky, so she did quirky, but she also did a little bit more glamorous this time, and it really worked for her, and they're really loving her. So I'd like to see that. Brooklyn, good. They're calling her a front runner. Plastique, a lot more fun. So there you go. So that's my thing. I think right now Brooklyn is clearly a front runner. I think Vanjie's in a little bit of a precarious place. I think she's incredibly interesting and likable. So I think even if she gets off the show in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be, she's going to have a career after this because she's so likable. She sounds like a Simpsons character, like a chain-smoking grandpa, and I love it. I love it. I love it. So, there you go. Hit me up in the comments.